Okay, hello everybody. Hi, welcome. This is Cristina Balli. I'm Executive Director of the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. Today we are doing our Guadalupe-thon on the occasion of Giving Tuesday. This is a tradition that we actually started 7 years ago, believe it or not, in 2016. Before the pandemic, we wanted to do a something to, para llamar la atención, right? On Giving Tuesday, everybody is, we're all rallying together, to support each other, all of us nonprofits and efforts of movimientos. And at the time, we were trying to say, okay, what can we do to show people what we do and, what the Guadalupe does? And well, we kind of do a lot. So the best way to do this was somebody said, we should do a telethon. And that converted into Guadalupe-thon. And that we started using via the Facebook Live platform. So here we are today, again, on the occasion of Giving Tuesday. We're asking all of our followers, supporters, members to contribute to the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. And we're taking the day to show everybody, feature a little more what we do. And this year, we're very excited that we finally launched or relaunched our literary arts program. And to talk about that, I have a special guest, very special guest here, both. One is our literary arts curator, el Librotraficante, Mr. Tony Diaz, and a special guest author, Guadalupe Garcia McCall, who was one of our featured authors in our author series recently. So welcome, Guadalupe, and welcome, Tony.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. And that's wild to think that when the Guadalupe-thon started, the Latino bookstore did not exist yet, but it's taken that long to build the infrastructure. And this is really something that not just the west side of San Antonio can be proud of, not just San Antonio can be proud of, but all of Tejas can be proud to know that as book deserts proliferate the nation and surround our communities, and as bookstores close across the nation, the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center is doubling down on our community, our cultura, and I'm so happy to traer mi granito de arena as the literary curator. But today, invite folks to find out more about what we've done all year, find out about chances to win free books, but then also to donate as well. So KPFT is the radio station where our radio show emits, and we do this pledge drive. So I got to use some of those tactics. So ladies and gentlemen, right now, por favorcito, if you can make a donation right now to the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center, you're going to show that the literary department can do its part to help the whole familia of arts and cultura over decades continue to flourish. And what's beautiful about what we do is any day during the week, gente can come to the West Side, to the West Side Arts District, and if there's not a play estrenando, if there's not Conjunto Festival going on, they can still walk into La Tiendita and take home a little bit of our cultura. So please, right now, if you can, or if you can't, call your comadre or compadre who can, please make a donation to help the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. And I'm going to throw it to Guadalupe.
Hello, good afternoon. I am so delighted to be here. It was a pleasure to be able to read at the Latino bookstore. But it is also a pleasure to share my work with you and say I have some books that I'm donating for this pledge drive. So I have some copies of the 10th anniversary edition of Summer of the Mariposas, which is a book that is read in middle schools and in high schools all over the country. And so it is my honor to give some of these away for people who donate and pledge today. I would love to later on read a little excerpt from it, but I also have a couple of these for older readers, like high school and adult readers. So I have a few of those as well for people who donate, for people who want to help support our community, our readers, because our readers right now are the future leaders of America, not just San Antonio, not just the borderlands, not just South Texas, but our world. And so we want our readers, our little chiquitos and high school students and college students to have good books that inspire them. And we want them to come to the Guadalupe Latino Bookstore and grab some books and bring some friends. And so you can make it happen by donating.
Thank you, Guadalupe, and and so appropriate that you are with us today, because you have the name of our patroness, and our center, so that's why it had to be you that was here with us today. So for some of our audience that might be seeing us for the first time, tell them a little bit more about yourself, Guadalupe, and your journey as a writer, because we exist as a bookstore because we want to encourage more writers, right? We need more of our books and more of our stories. What was your journey like to become a writer?
Well, thank you. I've always wanted to be a writer since I was 5 years old, and my father put that pencil in my hand, and we lived in Mexico, and he said we were coming to the United States so that we could be successful, and I was going to go to school. And so that's why we came. We came because I, as the firstborn, it was time for me to go to school. And he put that pencil in my hand, and he made these little tiny drawings with it. And I remember perfectly that he said the S is a serpiente sitting up on its tail. And then he put the little fork tongue and the little coil tail. And I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to make magic with my pencil. And so that's what I wanted. But I also, as I got older and more teachers said, you should be a writer. You're such a good poet. You're going to be, seeing your names on the back of a spine of a book someday. Those continue to feed me. But what fed me the most was my need to share that with others. I was that kid that the teacher could always count on to go help another student with their essay or with their short story or whatever they needed. So I also had a really a pull to be of service and to be a teacher. And so once I became a teacher, and I was teaching students how to become writers, because I was an English teacher in a middle school for 24 years. And that's where the magic happened. I had a group of students who didn't really like writing, and so they kind of challenged me a little bit. One of them said, if it's so easy, why don't you do it? And I said, oh my goodness, you are talking to the princess of poetry here, the queen of prose. I am going to write a poem for you, and it's going to be 6 stanzas, and every stanza is going to have a simile or a metaphor, because they're cousins, the similes and the metaphors, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit. And so I took them through my process. I showed them that I access memory. And so I closed my eyes right there in front of them, and I said, it is Sunday. And the sun in the sky is an Aztec god so powerful, you can go blind if you stare too long. And then I said, look at what I just did there. The sun is an Aztec god. That's a metaphor. And not only that, es un sol muy brillante. And they were like, what? We can write in Spanish? And I said, oh, yes. So I wrote that stanza. And then I wrote another one about me being a little bronze mermaid, weightless and swift in the Rio Grande, and how my brother was a tiburon, a shark. And so they had a ball listening to me writing this poem, which was just a celebration of my family swimming in the Rio Grande when we were little. So they had so much fun that they started writing. And then the next day, they wanted to know what I was going to write about. So I took the challenge. I wrote, they wrote. I wrote, they wrote daily. This went on for years, and I saved all my poems. And before you know it, 10 years had gone by. And in those 10 years, I had accumulated hundreds of poems that I had written with my students, most of them about my childhood. I want to say about 40 of them about my childhood. And when I was asked to move from one room to across the school, and I was, pitching things and throwing things and sorting, and I found that folder with all those poems, and I thought, what am I going to do with all these poems? And that's when it hit me as I was sorting them out, and the poetry that was about my childhood, about being a girl who was a Mexicanita growing up on the border, swimming the Rio Grande, eating pan dulce, making tortillas with my mom, just the normal everyday aspects that are beautiful celebrations of who we are. They were growing and growing, and that I thought is a book. And so now remember, I'm already later into my career as a teacher. I am like full-blown career as a teacher when this happens. I send it off, and lo and behold, it becomes Under the Mesquite. And Under the Mesquite won so many awards as my debut novel that it kind of set me on that trajectory of putting me on the national stage and advocating for diverse books, advocating for books with characters like me, Hispanics, Latinx characters, just living our lives, being ensconced in who we are.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because that's exactly what I want to hear more of. These beautiful stories about, how we can bring our artistry out of us, and whether that's literature, or theater or art, but that's what we need, and we continue to need, and we need more and more of that. Tony, what you are so good at doing the pitches. Why don't we do like a little pitch again for support for us, and then Guadalupe can do a little reading for us as well, because now I really want to hear from one of her books, now that she gave us that little probadita. But first, and for anybody that's just joining us, Tony will let you know what we're doing here today, live on Facebook and live on YouTube.
Well, symbolically, we're going to pause, because if it wasn't for the powerful Latinas you're watching on screen now, really pushing against all the forces trying to silence all our community, you wouldn't be getting this broadcast right now. There wouldn't be a Latino bookstore on the west side of San Antonio. These stories would not exist, and so many voices would have been silenced. Pause for dramatic effect. However, we need you to unite with them, with us, to keep this project going. So right now, you can make a donation during the Guadalupe-thon. It helps the whole center, the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center, which has decades of work. And right now, we're celebrating the work of the Latino Bookstore, which is based in the historic Progreso building. And I want to add a few perks, because we love y'all who are watching and have been supporting us. So this last Texas Author Series session, oh my goodness, it's been a full year of programming, Cristina. Oh my goodness, but that's our first full year of programming. The last session of the Texas Author Series will be this first Friday of December coming up, Friday, December 2nd. It's totally free. Javier Garza will be presenting his 19th and 20th books. Again, another person who was really inspired to keep pushing, because there are people trying to silence us, other champions trying to push us. He's celebrating his 19th and 20th books. Admission is free. It starts at 6 p.m. But of course, there's a fiestecita, end of the year, with pan dulce, chocolate, some vinito, from 5 to 6. That's free. And we're also going to have a raffle, but you got to do a little bit of work for that. So if you come in and take a survey, we want to find out what you loved most about this year, what you'd like to see next year. And vamos tomar de cuenta su opinión, what you want. Maybe you want an open mic. Maybe you want more authors in Spanish. Maybe you want, different type of poetry. Maybe you want more events. Let us know what you loved. But I want you to know, winner must be present that day, except right now. So here are the perks. If you donate right now, we will enter you into that raffle for the literary gold. That means we're going to raffle one book from each of the authors we had all year long, and you can win. Winners have to be present that day, except if you are a donor today. And you'll also get a copy of Guadalupe's very generous donation of books. So we got 10 books. If we can get 10 donors, we appreciate that. And of course, we started visiting some of the schools. We sent poets to high schools. We actually went to middle schools. We went across the street for the parents who are in the ESOL program to bring them to the Latino bookstore for a tour, special workshops. This is really a whole movement, and you can help with your granito de arena. If you can, please make a donation right now. Or if you know someone that hasn't heard about this, please call them. If you can't right now, please share it. I wasn't distracted. I was sharing it on my Facebook. So do that as well. But every donation helps. And again, this isn't like a corporate bookstore. If there's any profits, there's not a lot of profits, but if there's any, it goes towards keeping not just the Latino bookstore going, but all the programming going. And this really is a treasure. The Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center is such an important part of not just Texas, but the whole nation, as Guadalupe was saying. So please, if you can't donate right now, and I don't know, Cristina, I mean, sometimes I have to be the tough professor and say, until we have a certain amount of donations, we can't get the good presence of stories. But you're a little nicer professor than me. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Cristina, and let you decide. And also, I can't tell if pledges are coming in or not. So I'm going to let you decide, Cristina.
Yes, and actually, so we're low tech Aztec, not high. In some areas we're high tech Aztec, and some areas we're low tech Aztec. And so we do. I don't have a live update here in front of me of the contributions coming in, but I am getting messages. So if you see me looking around, it's because I'm getting messages, and I do see that you are good at sharing, Tony, because we have 17 shares of this live streaming right now on Facebook. And then Jordan Pye and Charlie Brown say hello. So, they're saying hello. Those are the comments that we have so far. So we know that we do have people paying attention, people watching, and, we have lots of people here interacting. So I'm going to be the good teacher and the soft teacher or the soft cop, and I am going to get to the goods and to the reward, which is hearing from Guadalupe's work. So we're ready for you, Guadalupe. What are you going to share with us?
I am going to share a very tiny excerpt of Summer of the Mariposas, where the girls meet a very dangerous creature, lechuzas. I looked at the barn doors noisily slapping back and forth with the force of a storm, and I couldn't help but feel powerless. The twins' desertion shattered any hope I had left of defeating the malevolent witches. And for the first time in our journey, I wanted to cry. But there was no time for that. Two of them dived so fast and hard into me that they knocked me over. One of them sat on my chest. Another one had Juanita pinned face up against the pile of clothes we had used to make ourselves a nest. Pita was pressed against the wall, shivering, while a lechuza pecked gently at her head, as if it were picking nits out of her hair. "You like eating sweets, don't you?" The lechuza, with Cecilia's voice, pulled Pita in close until their faces were almost touching. "You like eating sweets," the lechuza said. "That's because you're a piglet, a little piggy with a piggy nose and a piggy mouth and a piggy stomach. You're a chubby baby, but give me time. I'll put some real meat on your bones, thicken you up, and get you ready to be eaten. My sisters and I haven't eaten much lately. Your big brown eyes look delicious. I bet they taste sweet, slathered with jalapeno marmalade. How do you like your adventure now, you arrogant little twit?" A lechuza with Inez's voice asked Juanita as she caressed her face with the bristly feathers of her left wing. "What? Do you think you're smarter than them? Well, you're not. You dragged them all into this mess." Thank you.
Bravo. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that we're able to share. We want to make sure that we can share these books with our middle school, with Tafoya Middle School, which is the middle school right down the street from us. And then, of course, Lanier High School. And then JT Brackenridge right across the street from us. It is like so important for our kids, our young people to read stories like this, and books like this. So thank you very much, Guadalupe, for collaborating with us, on your visit that you had last week, and not last month. I'm sorry, not last week. It was last month, right? Yeah, it was about a month ago. On the first, right? Or the first Friday. Yeah, yeah. So it was the first Friday. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay. Okay, good. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And for those of you that just joined, I know people are on and off, hopping on and off. You can have a copy of this book that Guadalupe just read off of if you donate to the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center today, right now, within the next hour or so. We do see when the pledges come in, when the donations come in. We are keeping track of that, and you will receive an extra gift if you donate within this hour, which is a very generous gift by Guadalupe Garcia McCall, which is one of her books. So muchas gracias, Guadalupe. We really appreciate it. And for those of you that just joined in, we invite you to become a member of the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. Renew your membership or give a donation in any amount. You don't have to, any donation during this time makes you a member. If you want to donate $5, that makes you a member. Okay, so any donation makes you a member of the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. Okay, Tony.
And also, I want to remind folks as well, we're also going to enter you into our raffle for literary gold. So if you donate within the next hour, and what this means is that on this last session of the Texas Author Series 2022, I'm a little nostalgic already. It's been the last one, but it's been a great year. This year, we've been having on the first Friday of the month. So this is going to be December 2nd, 6 p.m. We're going to showcase Javier Garza. His visual art will also be on display there in the Progreso building. Admission is free, but we're going to have a little party from 5 to 6, and everyone's invited. They can get some pan dulce, some chocolate, some beverages, and then they can enter to our raffle for literary gold. That means we're going to raffle off one copy from each author that we showcased this year. You had Reina Grande, actually myself too. I was part of that, the tip of the pyramid, cultivating community culture capital. Why, thank you, Guadalupe. And Roberto Rodriguez. So many wonderful writers. You can enter a chance to win one of their books. On that day, winners must be present. But today, if you donate, not only do you become a member at any level, not only will you get a copy of Guadalupe's book. That's a little scary. Me asustaste con la lechuza. Okay. So people got to be ready for that. All right. And if you do take that book home with you, you're going to be the delight of the familia. You got to be that cool tío tia that gives the nieces or nephews cool books like that, or you can always see that on the shelf. But you will also be entered to win, and you don't have to be present, one of those books from our literary gold. And of course, you're supporting this wonderful movement to make sure that our voices are sustained. And you know what, Cristina, thank you so much for having the vision to push for this, define what corporate publishers and stores are saying, because they would never open a bookstore in our community. We have defied that. And additionally, I have no doubt that some of the authors that we're introducing, some of the authors we're introducing to our community, they're going to lead to some voices being unleashed, and we're going to celebrate their books. And that's going to be wonderful full circle when we celebrate the books. And if you donate right now, you'll know you had un granito de arena and that role in it. So please donate right now. Tell your familia who can donate as well. And then please share this broadcast too.
Yes, share the broadcast. And also, we're also trying to build up our YouTube channel. Another way you can help, besides giving your donation, is you can spread the word. You can share this post. You can go to our you can go to our YouTube channel. Sorry, this low-tech things, my computer moved around and I lost you guys, but I found you again. You can go to our YouTube channel, please. We ask that you go. It's Guadalupe Cultural Arts on YouTube, and subscribe to our channel. We plan to use it a lot more now. We're starting that on that as well. We have lots of so a lot of our live streams, lots of the content that we videotaped during the pandemic, of course, because we were all videotaping, right, and streaming. And so we have all that content that we're going to upload to our YouTube channel. So that's going to be like an educational resource, our YouTube channel, from so many of our programs that we plan to upload there. We also have the live streams of our conjunto festivals that are up there. So if you're like cleaning the house and you want to listen to conjunto music while you're cleaning Lighthouse, get that spirit that we get at Rosedale Park, you can listen to it from our YouTube channel. And now I'm gonna I'm gonna switch channels a little bit here, and I'm gonna bring the attention to Tony as an author as well. He showed us his book. I have it right here too, and aquí lo tengo. I was finally able to make time to catch up on some of the books that I wanted to catch up on, during the Thanksgiving holiday break. And I finally got a chance to get to Tony's book, and I was really, really blown away and impressed. And Tony, I have some questions for you, about your book. I didn't prepare, Tony, that I was going to do this. Pero
this is like a 2020 investigative report. Uh-oh.
But Tony, are bookstores, are ethnic bookstores, or culturally specific bookstores or bookstores of a certain affinity, are those bookstores tips of pyramids?
Oh, I love that question. That is a great question, because you're taking the concept and overlaying it into our life and our projects. Definitely. And here's what that means. That means that it's the tip. Why? Because someone can stumble upon it. They can purposely go. Maybe they, like we said earlier, they might not be there during the Conjunto Festival. They might not be there during a play, but they can walk in during business hours, like right now, and go in and they can browse our cultura. So that is the tip of the pyramid. And the whole concept would be that that's one important juncture of all our actions, but people then, they unearth more. It reveals more, because as we've talked about extensively, if people get Guadalupe's book, then they're going to look more into her and find out, oh my goodness, so she went through, she was a teacher first. Oh my goodness, she really wanted, because the way you teach, that is an example of trusting community cultural capital. Porque los huercos, you could say los huercos son rezongones, you know what, you're all punished. How dare you tell me I've got a right, ¿verdad? Instead, you said, no, I appreciate where they're coming from. They want to overcome barriers, and I have to as well. That too. But again, as a tip of the pyramid, the Latino bookstore reveals those stories more. So definitely. And I think the more people unearth, it unearths the other art forms. And this is contrary to the corporate form, which wants to put us all in lanes. And I think that's part of how you developed it.
And so then people can come to a place like a bookstore to become a cultural accelerator, right?
Dang, you read, this is like my fantasy interview here. Oh my goodness. I love it. No, precisely. And the whole idea of a cultural accelerator would be, as I mentioned in the book, and thank you so much for latching into it, because you are both, I mean, you're both cultural accelerators. You're latching onto it. Basically, those are folks who are progressing, but keep in touch with the community. And as they advance, are navigating all these terrains, but always looking back at the community, And that's a big part of, I would say, the Latino bookstore too, Cristina, which is, why we have a literary curator, which I'm happy to serve as, but also these are not just random books or random publications. These are books by folks that are still giving back to the community, art forms that edify us or that build off each other. So yeah, that really means a lot. Thank you so much for profoundly examining the book and taking those to task, but you've been doing this stuff anyway. So I think it rings true to you because you've been doing that work.
It does really ring true to me. And I think, everybody, I'm going to make it, my staff doesn't know, but I'm going to make it required reading. And I'm going to give it to our board members for Christmas, because this really encapsulates what we're doing, what we are doing, as cultural workers. All of us here are cultural workers. And interesting that now talk a little bit more about the community cultural capital, because that is, you say, okay, it's not necessarily it's not capital as in money, but we still do need lana, so like today, that's why we're asking you to become a member, to donate, because you are the community cultural capital. All of you are supporters, that are giving your donation today. If you give $5, if you give 25, 35, if you give $500, you are community cultural capital that is building pyramids. This is, a place like the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center is a pyramid, and that has a tip. Places, groups, organizations like Nuestra Palabra, are pyramids with a tip. They're the base, they're the pyramid, they're the ones that have they're the foundation. So all of our members, our supporters, are cultural accelerators. When they give a little support, of capital, of lana, of money, but there's also and they're also the community cultural capital. So explain that, Tony.
Sure. No, and I love the examples that you're giving, because correct. I think people think of money and they think that things that don't lead to direct money are not valuable, and that's not correct. That's been used to convince our gente that their stories are not valuable, that their memories are not valuable, and that their culture is not valuable. That's not true. And the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center has been defined that. So having said that, community cultural capital are any possessions that we have that we can dictate where they go. One example is the money. So right now you have a network of people that corporate America says doesn't exist. So they're not going to sell books on the west side of San Antonio. We're proving them wrong. That's why you're exactly correct. Everybody who's tuning in, we're capturing their attention. They have computer access. They have the time. They can stop and pay attention to this. And they can actually decide to get in a car, pay for gas, put their time and energy and money to come in, and then what? Buy a book that we've set up for them. Community cultural capital is the story. Guadalupe said that her story was valuable. She stuck to it for decades. And then she gave publishers a chance, but they were auditioning for her because she knew her story was important. Our stories are important. The other example I would say too, our networks. Think about this. Corporations give us trinkets, ¿verdad? Nos quieren dar algo, a toaster, no sé qué más, for our emails, our phone numbers. Why? They don't want to know us. They want to own us. But we've got a network of gente here coming together all to once. And then the other powerful part of community cultural capital, because cultural capital could just be the arts, but then some folks are going to say, well, it's the fine arts that are just at major museums. Community cultural capital means our stories, our music. Think about this. The Conjunto Festival is so well regarded in packed house. There are not that many FM broadcast stations broadcasting that music. Think about that. I mean, right? So if it's not for us coming together, you leading the charge, but it's our cultura coming, and that is valuable. The last thing I'll say, we're always tricked into thinking it's not valuable until it's in the hands of other people. Community cultural capital, Yuelita's stories, she tells you her stories at her casita. Other folks try and convince you her casita is in a bad neighborhood that you're not supposed to go to until they buy it from her and gentrify it. And then the price gets jacked up, ¿verdad? The food that you eat, maybe when you took it to school, maybe kids teased you for it, right? Well, guess what? Now they call those burritos wraps, okay? And then now there are New York restaurants where when you see the prices for what we used to make, you're like, that's not it. And the last example would be when people look at our lowriders and they may look down on us, guess what? When they call them art cars, it's still our lowriders to begin with. They just charge more for it and they think it's more exotic, but it's our lowriders that started that. So those are just some examples of community culture capital, but I'm so happy that es una tardecita, we're convening with intellectuals. This is one of the leading discussions in the country about our gente and community and art. And this, I'm blessed to be part of this. And if you're tuning in, you're part of this as well. So I hope that you can help donate tu granito de arena. Again, if you've got the capital, si tienes lanita, please, in any amount, if you know someone that can help, talk to them as well. But even importantly, put us in your network and spread that. And Cristina, thank you so much. It really is a blessing to team up with both of you, but we can only do it with leadership like you're exemplifying.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Yes, and we are community culture capital. And one thing that you said right now is with a corporate model, they own us, when they take our email, when they take our phone number, and when they take our dollars, they own us. In places like ours, institutions like ours, the community owns the institution. The community owns the institution, and we are a nonprofit that is accountable to our community, because if we're not, we're going to hear it, especially here in San Antonio. We're going to hear it, if we're not being accountable to the community. So, yeah, we're tasked with the job of running it, and keeping it going and building it and fixing it. And believe me, there's lots to fix all the time. But corporations don't own these institutions. The community owns these institutions. And that's why contributions, from our supporters are really important. Okay, so all right, those are it. And but I just want you to recap, Tony, real quick, our goodies that we have for all our members that become a member within the next hour, and then our goodies for this weekend. Recap those two things.
Definitely. So right now you're experiencing highlights from the first year of programming at the Latino Bookstore. So today, as a special treat, if you donate, we're going to enter you into our end of the year raffle. So other folks, when they take part in this raffle for Literary Gold, they'll have to be in person on December 2nd. If you donate now, you won't have to be in person, but your support will let you get one raffle ticket per donation for one of all the authors' books who we showcased throughout this year for the Texas Author Series. In addition, one of our featured authors was Guadalupe Garcia McCall, who's joined us today. She's been so kind to not just give of her time and energy to read from her book, but also donate 10 copies. So the first 10 donors in the next hour will get a copy of that book as well. And of course, you're going to help all the other arts groups as well. And you're going to help make it clear that, hey, the Latino contingent for Latino literary contingent is here and presente. And then, of course, coming up this weekend is the last of our Texas Author Series sessions. It's going to be December 2nd at 6 p.m. It's free with San Antonio author Javier Garza, who's internationally and nationally known as well. You'll also get to see his art exhibit. We're celebrating his 20th book. I should mention this, Cristina. I knew Javier, speaking of community culture capital, I knew Javier before he was published. He came to what we used to organize as the Latino Bookstore, and he met Dr. Nicholas Canelos, who would go on to publish Javier's first book. And again, what I love is I think we've all seen the power of someone sharing their story in public for the first time. That's just as powerful as getting published. And we're not making this up. We see people's lives transformed through literature, and we want to share that. So you can see that in person December 2nd for free. There's a little party from 5 to 6, or you can help donate right now. And again, if you're not in Tejas, we're here throughout the year. It is a visitor center as well, and it's part of the West Side Cultural District. And you can help. You can help and donate right now and get that book in the mail. We're not doing a lot. We can talk more about that later at some other show. We're not doing a lot of fulfillment of online books. And I'll just say this as my opinion. It's very hard to compete with Amazon or these online sellers. You just can't, right? However, we're here to support community culture capital. So right now, if you're in another city, this is your chance where you can get at your home, your family library, a little bit of our cultura. And thank you to Guadalupe for doing that. So we hope that you will donate. I'm Tony Diaz, literary curator. So happy to be a part of this big movement, and so happy to join you both right now.
And I was just going to throw one last thing there about Javier Garza, and you're saying community cultural capital. I started my arts administration career more than 20 years ago in the Rio Grande Valley. I was in San Benito, Texas at the Narciso Martinez Cultural Arts Center. And one of my first most memorable exhibits that I helped coordinate and showcase was thanks to Javier Garza.
Wow.
He's the one that alerted me to the most recent book that Cheech Marin had put out, and there were 4 artists from the Rio Grande Valley in there. It was Javier and Luis Valderas and Selena Hinojosa. Oh my goodness, I forgot the 4th. But there was the artist, and we were able to put together a little exhibit, and it was all thanks to Javier and Luis. He was a major major organizer behind that. So Javier, that's a great example of community cultural capital, and how the different cultural accelerators come together, to climb to the tips of the pyramids, to get to the tips of the pyramids. So we'll continue the work.
Can I know we're crossing the border of our allotted time slot, but como Librotraficantes, every border we see, we want to cross. Like, okay, but I do want to bring up more of the history, because our own stories and our own history are part of that community cultural capital. So I do want to add two facets to that. You mentioned that book by Cheech Marin. It was Chicano Visions, American Painters on the Verge. Nuestra Palabra hosted him for that book back in the day. That book is out of print, sadly. So for folks to know, it's very hard to keep a book in print when Cheech Marin can't do it. On the flip side, Cheech Marin just opened the Cheech, which is the nation's first visual arts museum for Chicano cultural art. And that's powerful. I got a chance to go there. We did some presentations there. That's so powerful on that side. The other part I wanted to add to the legacy of the Guadalupe, I met Javier Garza at the International Book Festival, which used to be organized at the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center back in the day when Sana Cisneros was a literary curator at the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. And that relationship has kept going. There have been different manifestations of places to sell books. I'm calling this a different era because this is the most formal and the most organized, and it's really powerful Latino bookstore where it really is an engine for economic purposes. Because like you mentioned, there still has to be some lana flowing through, but not on corporate terms. It's all community terms. So I could not resist adding some of that. And, our paths keep crossing, but it's proof that all of this works. So I did want to add that.
Great. All right. Well, I think we're ready to wrap it up. To close this off, Tony has been working very hard at promoting the bookstore for over a year now. So he put together, and Tony and his team, they're all very good at putting videos together and putting stuff online, and I'm trying to catch up to all that. So Tony has some very nice videos, of some very dear and lovely people that are close to our hearts, that are talking about the importance of the bookstores, of bookstores for our people. And so we're going to close off this segment with these voices, that I think our tech manager, Jorge Luis Gamboa, is back there. And I think this is your cue to Tony, to give him the signal. You had a signal
Yes,
that you were going
so
to give to him.
please watch these videos, support, and share them right now on the air. Gracias.
The Mexicano-Chicano community in San Antonio has been a literate community for generations. Actually, since a lot of us are bicultural and bilingual, there has always been writers and in the newspapers and in books even, all the way back from the beginning. So bookstore is something that is something that's essential because not only can we look back at many of the writers, not of just the current, to say nothing of the books that are like in libraries about the 19th century and the 18th century and all that, but we're talking about contemporary writers. Bookstore is going to have contemporary writers. It's very important because the next generation needs to find out every writer writes about his own reality, and it's urban or rural or rancho or whatever, and so you get to know books are like an insight into another world. And so when you read other worlds and you find out that your world is part of many other worlds, and so reading and having a bookstore where you can access this material is essential.
Hi everybody, my name is Lupe Mendez and I am your Texas State Poet Laureate, and I'm here at the Latino Bookstore here at the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. We had a really good time. We had an amazing reading. I got to read this evening. Nobody fell asleep, so it's a win-win for everybody. I love this space because aside from also carrying my book, I actually found the book that I first got published in 2010. Sudden Fiction Latino, the short stories from the United States and Latin America. It's a collection of flash fiction by all Latinx and Latin American writers, and it's dope to see that this book is still in use, and you can get this and a bunch of other books here at the Latino Bookstore. So come down, get some books, say hi, buy some things, buy gifts for friends, and that's it. Later, bye.
Yo, what's up? This is Octavio Quintanilla, Poet Laureate of San Antonio 2018 to 2020. I invite all of you to come to the Guadalupe Latino Bookstore. We need to support it. We need more voices. We need platforms for our hijos, our hijas. And more than anything, we need our kids to come to a space like this and see their last names. Hernandez, Castillo, Cisneros, Quintanilla, Mendez, Diaz, Urrea, you name it, they're here. Come support.